Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are checking out chapters 8 and 9 of Season 2 of Tower of God. So in the last couple of chapters, we had the whole measuring shinsu thing, resistance thing. It was how much they could get hit with or hit with. Look, it's been a long week already. Basically, it's like the punching game thing that you get at the arcade, but for Shinsu users. So we had all of them trying that. We had a little bit of a competition. We had one rich kid whose dad is part of the whole loan shark thing that we had with Wangnan early on, and him basically having professionals hired to travel with him, but he also seems to be pretty powerful in his own right. But he's definitely someone I don't particularly enjoy. So we had some of these new characters we were getting introduced to, and some kind of competition between them, a little animosity as everyone was kind of trying to one-up each other and get to that #1 spot. And then of course we had Bomb wander up and just sort of gently place his hand on it and get significantly higher than everybody else, because of course he did. But I do like that we get to see an actual scale of him being so much more powerful and him basically flaunting it. He's not trying to hide it in any way. He's just very outwardly showing that he's so much more powerful than all of these other people. And we definitely had one of the rankers notice that, the one that was in charge of this particular test, and link it to the crime syndicate that he is associated with. So I feel like we might get into that a little bit more, as there seems to be some hesitation with people when it comes to that particular group and how dangerous they are. So Bomb is definitely making an impression, if not necessarily the most positive one. So I hope we get to kind of dig into that, maybe some more of what other people kind of know about it, whether or not it is actually true or not. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of the time information like that isn't necessarily accurate. It's just what people hear. So I kind of want to see how people what people's thoughts are and how it kind of permeates, because we did see legitimate fear in the eyes of the ranker, which I think is interesting given that rankers are quite powerful, especially just the ones that we've seen on the first floor, let alone the 20th. So I definitely want to dig a little bit more into what exactly that is, and maybe we'll get some more backstory on Bomb over those years that we skipped over of, just maybe little snippets of him being in this syndicate. I don't think we'll get into any of the real story until probably later. I mean, it may not have even fully been told yet because there's still chapters coming out, but I'm excited for kind of that and seeing kind of people's take on it, especially some of the people that are more educated on different stuff going on in the tower, like the rankers who know a little bit more about the inner workings. So let's get into chapter 8 and see how people kind of process what and who Bomb is. Okay, chapter 8. Now, someone did tell me the name, because Bomb has a new name now, and it was Viol, or I want to say Violet because I want to pronounce it in a French way. Viol? I don't know. There was a breakdown of it, but I'm pretty sure my brain will go Violet every time. Oh, yeah, we did not have them doing particularly well, especially Wangnan, who's just this is my last chance, and then it's a test that is not built in his favor because he's not, he doesn't control Shinsu, he just has a resilience to it, right? Unlike someone like Bomb, who's a wave controller, so this is a test that he could just breeze through. I guess this is kind of crushing too, of this is really his last chance. He literally bet everything on this moment, and then to see someone who's just so effortlessly going through it, these tests that he has tried over and over and over again to get through, and then he finally gets to the next step, and then have someone who's just so naturally more powerful and talented than him just come in. Even the other people that went up and had him rank lower and lower, he just doesn't have that talent, and because of that he doesn't really get another chance. I guess we'll see. I feel like we've spent a lot of time building up his character, so I feel like he probably isn't. And we had that little thing that was the whole return of the Prince of Jihad or Prince of Tower or whatever, and then we learned about Wangnan, so I feel like he's connected to that whole thing. I don't think he'll be going away, but it definitely, he feels like this is it though, that he's stuck. He's not going to be able to keep trying because he's literally given up everything and he still couldn't do it. And, to see someone like Bomb who just kind of walks through and doesn't even seem bothered by any of the tests must be very crushing too, because it's never easy to see someone just easily get something that you've had to work so hard to even get close to. I do like this effect though, you can tell that he's emotional by the blur of the panel. Oh, that'd be me. I'd see someone else upset and I'd be like, oh no. Okay, but here's the thing. It says choose 7 teammates, right? Which, I mean, I didn't know he was going to be allowed to choose choose. So maybe that's how Wangnan gets his moment. But also we saw Bam very much not want to be part of a team. Like he didn't want really to team up with anyone, and I don't think he wants to take anyone with him. So can he just choose not to, or is it mandatory that he has 7 teammates with him as he progresses? That's my current question. I'm assuming it'll be answered, but I feel like if he could just choose none of the above, that would be the way that he went with this. I do like to put all that effort in, and it's just like he gets to choose anyway. Leave the annoying kid behind. I know he's strong, but I would like us to leave him behind for moral reasons. I mean, look, are we expecting the tower to be like straightforward and just be like never lying to you, always authentic and 100% truthful? I'm not shocked that they lied. One thing is like, if they're going on to be teammates, how do you choose? Like, I'm assuming we will have to actually choose 7 other people to go with Bam. So if they do you pick people who are stronger because you want help and to have like stronger people support you in the next test, whatever it may be? Or do you pick weak people because you're gonna have to go up against them at some point and it's easier to go up against them? Or do you like mixture of them? You pick some strong people, some weak people, so that if you need the support, you have some, but if you can also like get rid of some of them pretty easily. I wonder what I would choose. I don't know. I mean, knowing me, I'd get emotionally attached to someone, and that would be like how I ended up choosing. Yes, those are, I was thinking another chance. If he kind of liked them, sort of. They shared snacks. Ooh, he might choose Wangnan because he's like, would he though? Okay, so I'm thinking Wangnan's the only one who's able to actually injure Bam in some way. So would he see that as him being powerful and therefore could support him? Or would he see that as a threat and therefore not want to have someone who could actually injure him coming with him on the tests? See, I don't know how Bam thinks now. I feel like it wouldn't have mattered in like season 1 because he would have just picked his friends. He would have picked the people that he thought were nice, and then he would probably pick Wangnan just because, you know, he seems kind of more approachable. Whereas like now, I don't know what the thought process would be. I feel like I would leave him behind. I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't want someone who knew a weakness of mine coming up the tower, because there are stronger people. So you could just pick someone that like uses shinsu, so they would be pretty strong, but like wouldn't be able to beat you in a fight very well. We're just going for it? Is that what we're doing? We're just like, I'm going to volunteer myself. I like how his tactics usually involve yelling. Those are his strategies. Maybe we're talking too much though, you know, like it might either sound crazy or you might give away some information that might paint a target on you. Because I feel like he's important, despite his kind of chaotic energy. I like how he's just like, I can dance and sing. That'll be the selling point. You know, when you're going up the tower and you just like need a song and dance number, you got to make sure you have the right people with you. Does that happen? Is there times where you need to, like, one of the games involves like singing or something? I mean, karaoke is huge in like South Korea, so it could be. You never know. I love how he's like, I can sing and I can dance and I just get cuter the longer you know me. I like how he's just like this like little ray of sunshine, and then there's Bam. It's just like all black. Like there's some serious emo vibes, okay? We got the sweeping bangs covering the eyes, all black clothing, doesn't really talk to anyone. Oh no, let's not lick shoes. There's a line, you know? I mean, it does show how desperate he is though, that he's like, I'll literally do anything. At this point. I mean, he also like can't take the test again. If he doesn't keep going up the tower, then he has to like repay his debt, right? I mean, he might just agree because he like doesn't care. That's what I'm also thinking too. I'm like, Bam just may not even care. He may just like choose whoever, you know, because if it's just like, I just need to pick 7 people and it doesn't really matter who they are. Because, you know, I'm thinking like strategically of like, do you want people to back you up or do you want people that are easy to go up against and that kind of thing? But Bam hasn't shown any interest in like the strategy of it because he doesn't see anyone as a threat. He doesn't see this as like an actual challenge anymore. So he might just choose Wangnan because he asked. He's like, yeah, all right. You know, like it might just be like a random thing where he's just like picking whomever because it doesn't matter. Yeah, see, we have people who are just like asking and he might just be like, yeah, okay. Because it means he doesn't have to choose. Interesting to see like him be one of the people who is willing to like be humble enough to ask, because he was very arrogant, and then to have a moment where he's like, I'm gonna like, you know, bow before this person and ask is like a very humble thing. So it shows like how he's also willing to put everything he has into this. Even if he has kind of a more arrogant, confident like persona, he does probably have like a deeper motivation that like is more like personal than just, I don't know, wanting riches or something, you know, something that's a little more shallow of why he might go up the tower. Like I feel like the son of the like banker is probably just doing this for like the prestige, like he's doing this for the bragging rights, as opposed to some of the other people in the tower who have like more emotion driven reasons for going up the tower. And I feel like he might be one of them. I think we're gonna get a reason. Oh, kid. I wouldn't have thought of him as a dad, but it is a good motivator. Unless he is actually lying, then I don't know, I'm a sucker for a sad story. He might be lying though, just to like, I don't know, say something emotional so that he is chosen. Yes, can we take the teddy bear with us? I just feel emotionally attached. I would like him to come along. But I feel like maybe saying I've got to find someone might be a little bit of a sore spot for Palm because, you know, the whole Rachel thing. So maybe it'll make him empathetic, but it also might make him a little bit vindictive. I don't know anymore. I don't know what motivates his actions. Aww. Yeah, take her too. And her sister, obviously. Can't break up the family, just like the chaos. Is she also gonna ask? Flamethrower girl? Okay, so fishermen too. Good to know. It's interesting how many of them are willing to just say, I mean, she's saying like, I'm already on his team, but it is interesting to see how many of them are willing to just ask, which I feel like is such a, you know, and it's all these people who, again, except for a couple of them, it's people who like aren't necessarily at the top of like power level, who are like humble enough to just ask for help, which I feel like says a lot about people who like aren't born with certain privileges, that you have more, I don't know, practice or like less like shame around needing to ask someone for help because you've had to do it a lot of the time. Like you've just grown up having to do that. And I'm sure if you live in the tower where there are like people who literally have like god level powers, you probably had to ask for some help at some point. So I like the kind of contrast here. Yeah, I don't know if we should take someone who burns their teammates. That might be a bad self-preservation. Again, Bomb might not care though, because he might just say, I'm more powerful than her anyway, so it doesn't matter. She can't burn me alive, so why not take her along? I mean, maybe don't anchor the girl that is known to barbecue other people. Maybe. It seems like a bad tactic for like, I don't know, survival. I mean, I don't know if that's a good selling point for Bomb, but I mean, like everyone's just like unimpressed. No, guys, please, everyone, calm down. Everybody take 5. He hasn't said anything yet. You don't need to prove anything yet. He's actually speaking though. I mean, look at that. He has to say words. See, I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, I feel like they're gonna say you have to. It's mandatory. But I was like, that's probably gonna be his default. It's just none of them. Especially since he has a lot of bad memories around having teammates. He definitely wants to be alone. Less competition too. I mean, you just clear out all of the people, so might work out for him that way too. He probably would try to do a test like on his own, even if it was like really difficult. He'd probably just try anyway. He is quite full of himself, but I feel like it's justified. Like I don't think he's bragging. I think he's just stating facts. Like he's not saying it because he wants people's approval or admiration. He's just like, for him, he's like, these are just this is factual information that I'm just sharing with everyone. Well, don't call it a fake symbol, because you're gonna make him need to prove it or something. What is the Fook Slayer? Oh no, I get that. I guess he maybe he would have some animosity towards Jihad, but I guess it would depend on whether or not he knows what went down with Rachel, like that she was making deals and stuff with the tower. Because I don't know how much he's filled in about it, because we know because we've seen some of the other stuff going on, but I guess he could know because he was the redhead girl came and like took him farther up the tower and she knew about all of it, so he could. I like how this is the first time we see his eyes though. They've been shaded the whole time or covered up, and then at this moment when he's like putting out like his main motivation and like has this conviction to it, we actually see his eyes, which I think is really important, because this is like, you know, he's actually looking people in the eyes and like making sure that they understand what he's saying. He wants to drive that point home. I feel like that is a lot for like Wangnan, because didn't he have like the ring that had like the symbol of Jihad on it? So he's kind of tangled up in all of that. I mean, fair enough. I feel like not a lot of people would want to team up with him if he wants to kind of break apart one of the like fundamental pillars of how the tower works. Maybe they would. I mean, maybe there's some, you know, rebel energy to some of them. True. Most of them would. I feel like there's a lot of like fear of Jihad, but I feel like there's not a lot of general loyalty, especially if it's just like you're just teaming up with someone to go up the tower. You don't have to help him kill off Jihad and his entire family. Just use him as a means to an end. Okay. Ooh, I'll be interested to see that, because like up against a ranker, we may actually be able to see like, we'll see what he's like in a game against a ranker, whether or not it's like physical strength or like more of a like mental based game. But seeing him go head to head with a ranker to like really show off where he's at in terms of like power scaling, I definitely want to check that out. I feel like it's also why the ranker might be saying let's play a game against each other, because he also wants to judge where Bomb's like actual ability is right now. Ooh, okay, next chapter. Be interested to see, because it says if he wins, right? So I'm assuming he won't, because we've introduced some characters that I feel like are quite important. Like if Wangnan doesn't continue up the tower, then I feel like why kind of introduce him with some of this mystery around him in terms of just like plotting. But I want to know what the test is going to be then. I mean, he still could lose with just like combat. Again, I don't know how powerful Bomb is. I kind of want it to be something more strategic based, because we haven't seen him really do much of that previously. That was something that he kind of like let other people take care of. So I kind of want to see him need to strategize and like outthink other people, because I want to see if he's developed that as well, because we've seen some of his strength, but he hasn't really needed strategy all that much. But we'll have to wait and see. You did almost die. I mean, Bomb was kind of prepared there to pretty much kill everybody. I laugh to get past the awkwardness, and I guess him giving up his body to a loan shark. He's dealing with a lot right now. Yeah, how do we feel about the whole killing Jihad thing, given the ring and the connection there? Aw, I like their roommates. Oh, hello, test director Augustus. It makes me laugh because one of the mice in Cinderella is named Gus Gus. I feel like also this ranker probably like doesn't actually have an idea of what the game's gonna be yet, maybe, because we're like, oh, we'll take a break, and now we're seeing him like talking to the test administrator to just be like, so like, what do we do? Like, I bought us some time. What do we do about the fact that there's like basically a gangster in our test? I mean, we like the determination, maybe not against a character that, again, I have a soft spot for. He's a little bit different now, but I'm sure he'll, you know, get a little bit more open about some of his thoughts and feelings and things. Probably won't be the same, but more open. Personal business. Why? Is there a backstory? I guess he like recognized a technique, so maybe he's dealt with the like syndicate before. I can't take the name seriously. I was like, evil is an interesting word to put in here. That feels like there's history there, because usually if you call something evil, you have like a lot of emotional attachment to it. And I get that he works for Jihad, so maybe there's some loyalty there if he's one of the rankers who like legitimately has a lot of, I don't know, support towards Jihad as opposed to some of the other ones that we've seen. But I feel like there's probably some history. I mean, way to take advantage of being able to recycle some panels for the sake of speed and a little bit of comedy. Just like do you like me? No. Oh no! I mean, fair. He is kind of your boss, and you did just straight up say that you didn't like him, so while arguing with orders. I feel like there's definitely some history there. I like the light reflecting off the eyes though, because we've had, his eyes are like very blank, and then having like this reflection to get them like a little bit more life. I feel like that's a great visual representation of like the emotion behind all of this, because usually if you have basically like a highlight in eyes in like cartoons and comic book drawing and stuff, it like adds life to the person, whereas if you don't have them there, it shows like a kind of blankness, a disconnect. So to have this like light reflecting off of his eyes, kind of acting like that highlight that you usually draw in, is like showing more life to him as like an emotional response to what's going on. We're gonna see all the roommates. He's definitely not subtle. Bomb is anything but, which maybe is the point. Maybe that's part of like his deal, being allowed to go up the towers, is kind of the brashness of it. I mean, it definitely is kind of a difficult decision if it's like, I team up with this person and I get disgraced by my family, or I fail and get disgraced by my family. Kind of a difficult decision there. Ooh, awkward. Just be like, I don't know, let me just casually plot the death of this person, and then you find out that you're roommates. Just a tad awkward, that one. I like the shading on the wallpaper too. Is kind of like when you see people who are like embarrassed, or they have like the shading like the top of their face. It's like a similar thing that they're mimicking with the actual like environment. It's like gotten darker now that he's there. I don't know if that's gonna work. He's a loner. Well, no, we're being friendly-ish. We're being around other people. That seems like a good step. I don't know if just like telling a bunch of like things that you've accomplished is actual bonding. Just gonna put that out there. I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce that right either. He's just walking away without any kind of acknowledgement. I think also she was like, gonna join me in the bath, and then he's just like, no. Some good comedic timing there. Are we bonding? Even though we had some ups and downs with that one, I feel like maybe they could get along. Ooh, interesting though. I was gonna say, I like how they're kind of facing away from each other in the panels, because it shows that they are kind of still at odds with each other. You know, they're talking to each other, but they aren't like really talking to each other. But interesting that they're like, seem to see this as like being anti-Jihad as a positive, like that might be ideal. See, now they're like more on like even, right? We have them not facing away from each other as like they're kind of like slowly opening up to each other a little bit. They're finding the similarities. Interesting too, we did have that where he was trying to get Misang out of the test. If he does have a daughter, then it might be more of like an emotional thing than like a cruel thing, like we thought at the beginning. Way to shift the topic extremely quickly. Do they have little ears? Cute. I feel like I'm gonna say that like every time that they show up. I just like as a greeting. I mean, seems like they will be a little bit antagonistic to each other. Yeah, I mean, enjoy a moment of relaxation with some crazy facilities going on. I mean, they spent some time with the breaks on like some of the first floor tests that were just like in that one giant room where they're just like sat around. Some nice facilities on this one. Oh no, the problematic one. I mean, it's all in the same pool. I know he's saying it just to be like problematic and confrontational, but I mean, pools are gross regardless. You know, maybe I'm just saying that as someone who like doesn't like water. I'm just like public pools and baths and hot tubs, and I'm just like, I don't even like taking a bath just in my own bathtub. Choose your poison. Do you stay with the lesser beings, or do you awkwardly go over to where Bomb is? I think everyone's just like, why don't we just not go near him? Yeah, I was like, now it's like a challenge, right? Like he has to prove himself, so he's gonna go over. Look how he stays behind. Larker's just like, I'm not going over there though. Oh, he speaks. Look at you getting out actual words. I don't know if you're gonna get an emotional response out of him though, which I feel like is what this is all about. Honestly, the best way to deal with someone who's like having an outburst like this is just like not have any kind of response, because it just infuriates them. And it makes you seem like the better person because you're just not engaging with someone who's like kind of throwing a tantrum. Little bit. Like it's like didn't even bother to say what the words are anymore. It's just like general ramblings. Ooh, yeah. We did have the mention of Hats, which Bomb was like actually seems interested in. Maybe not as cold and separated from everyone as he wants everyone to believe. Ooh, I feel like that's a powerful line. Definitely means that he wants to fight him. But also I feel like there's lots of layers to that one. Like he's like truly kind of given up any kind of moral high ground. You know, we saw a lot of Bomb wanting to do the right thing and trying to figure out what the right thing is and being more on the side of being kind of morally good or morally right than we saw with a lot of the other characters that are a little more ambiguous. And I feel like this line really cements the fact that he's not that person anymore, and he doesn't want to be. He's very much like separated himself from that. He's going to continue to ignore you. He seems like the kind of person who knows who to give his energy to, you know? As an introvert, I also have to manage my social energy, and there are people where it's not worth it. Oh, look at the little drink with straw. Anyway, cutie pie either way. Is his ring gone? Interesting. Who would have wanted it? I feel like the ring is kind of important too, because it is like a symbol of jihad, and then you have Bomb who's like openly talking about wanting to kill jihad. So, may put a little bit of a target on Wangnan for that one. I feel like maybe it wasn't Bomb who took it though. I don't know if he'd put in that effort. So who would have wanted it? Oh, we're gonna find out. Maybe not. It was Bomb. Hey, see, sometimes I'm wrong. I was like, I don't know if he would have cared enough to actually take it, but I feel like a confrontation might be in order, given the whole literally the antagonist to jihad in this case, given like who he's associated with. You might want to be a little bit scared. But we're seeing his eyes again. Definitely be scared. You should maybe be, I don't know, in a more public place with some more powerful people. I feel like this is not going to go over well. Not attack someone in like the bath. I don't know anymore. So kind of a more quieter episode. We did get some more into like what it even means to be part of this like Thug thing that Bomb is part of and kind of other people's opinions. I like that we got to see some different sides of it and some people who are like legitimately furious. Like we had like Love, who was like actually has a ton of, and it seems like rage. There's some history there of seeing them as being quite evil. I wonder what the backstory is there. It seems more of a personal nature than just like jihad versus people who want to kill him off and his family. So I feel like there's some more story to that one. And then we saw, you know, Yihua, his name I'm probably pronouncing incorrectly, who was more conflicted about like the association. So what her family is going to think of her being even near someone, like talking to someone who is part of this group, and what she can do to fix this. You know, like she can't not go up the tower because there's a certain amount of disgrace to that, but she also can't ally herself with someone who is very vocally against jihad and not be disgraced by her family too. too, so her trying to figure out, okay, maybe I team up with them now and then deal with it later where I get rid of them. So having, you know, that inner conflict that a lot of people have where it isn't necessarily a loyalty to Jihad and the tower, it's just their own like personal connection and a conflict of like politics and image and that kind of a thing. And then having some of the other characters where we had, I'm trying to remember names. I want to call him Teddy Bear, but he has like an actual name. Akraptor, who's the guy with the dark clothing and the light hair. A lot of names are thrown at me, trying to lock them all away, who had this moment where they seemed more intrigued by it. Maybe getting some people who do have more of a rebellious side to them, maybe don't mind the idea of being allied with someone who seems extremely powerful and is actively going against Jihad for whatever reason that might be. They both seem to have kind of a personal connection, whether it's because they actually have some family or they're looking for someone. There's more of that personal emotional connection to their journey through the tower. So I like kind of getting to see all of these different sides of like what this information means as it is now known to everyone who's going through this part of the test, and people kind of trying to figure out how they want to navigate this, of whether or not they want to be allied for long enough to be able to kind of move forward, if they're willing to just be humble and ask, they are desperate enough to be going up the tower, you know, seeing all these different dynamics of like what motivates these characters and what they're willing to do to go up the tower. So I like getting kind of these more quieter character moments where, like, especially with the break, where they're not doing anything that is like them being up against each other. It's just them trying to figure each other out and see who they can ally with and who they shouldn't, and, you know, trying to kind of read the room of like who these people are without giving too much away of themselves. So I like getting that kind of moment where nothing seems quite relaxed, even though they're in kind of a relaxed setting. There's a lot of like this kind of tension of them trying to figure each other out and kind of peel back the layers of what people are saying and what their motivations are and stuff like that. I really like getting those character moments, especially as it seems like we're going to be getting them teaming up in some way, as Bomb probably has to choose some people. I'm assuming he doesn't do quite as well in the upcoming test as he might think. Going up against a ranker is slightly different than going up against other regulars, so we'll have to wait and see, but I'm definitely excited to explore what that test is going to be. If it's going to be more finding out about his strategic side, or if we're going to really see what his power level is, get to see him actually need to put in some effort into the different fights and stuff. But you can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Tower of God video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!